Now we're going to learn about rounding off. Suppose we have a number like 49, but we don't want to be that exact. We can say 49 is about the same thing as what?
50.
So we say 49 is approximately equal to 50. Our usual equal sign looks like that. But when we round off a number, it's approximate, so we put a little wavy line in our equal sign. How about the number 782? 782 is a precise number, but we don't want to be that exact, so we say that 782 is just about how much?
800.
Just about 800. We have rounded it off to the nearest hundred. And here's one more. 9,101. Well, suppose we're just interested in what thousand that is nearest to. That's rounding it off to the nearest thousand. And what would this number be, rounded off to the nearest thousand?
9,000.
9,000. We've taken off the sharp edge of the exactness and rounded it off a little bit. And that's why it's called rounding off. Now we're going to round off a whole series of numbers, each one to the nearest 10. When we round off to the nearest 10, that means we're counting by tens. Everyone count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Well, let's take the number 29. If we were counting by tens, what two numbers is that in between?
20 and 30.
20 and 30. And which of those two numbers is it closest to?
30.
You can see that 29 is closer to 30, so we say that 29 rounded off to the nearest 10 is 30. Counting by tens, what two numbers is 32 in between?
30 and 40.
30 and 40. And which is it closer to?
30.
It's closer to 30, so we say that 32 rounded off to the nearest 10 is 30. How about 35? That's also between 30 and 40. But which one is it closest to? It's hard to say because it's right in the middle. And the rule is when it ends in 5, when it's right in the middle, then it rounds up to the next. So we will say that 35 rounded off to the nearest 10 is
40.
40. $213. What two numbers is that between when counting by tens?
210 and 220.
That's right. 210, 220. And which of those two numbers is it closer to?
210.
210. So 213 rounded off to the nearest 10 is
210.
210. $587. Counting by tens. What two numbers is that in between?
580 and 590.
And which is it closer to?
590.
Yes, because the last number here is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. It's 5 or above, so it goes up to the next one. 590. And we'll do one more. 998. We're going to round it off to the nearest 10. Numbers is that in between?
500 and 600.
500 and 600. And which of those two numbers is it closer to?
500.
Yes, because 27 is less than halfway there. It's less than 50. So round it off to the nearest 100, it's 500. $676. Counting by hundreds, what two numbers is that in between?
600 and 700.
And which is it closer to?
700.
So 676 rounded off to the nearest 100 is
700.
$850. Hundreds, which two numbers is that falling between?
800 and 900.
And which is it closer to?
900.
That's right, because 50 is right in between. 850 is halfway between 800 and 900, and when it's in the middle, it moves up to the next one. So round it off to the nearest 100, it's
900.
$4,522. What two numbers is that in between, counting by hundreds?
4,500 and 4,600.
And which is it closer to?
4,500.
That's right. $9,950. Counting by hundreds, what two numbers is that number in between?
9,900 and 2,000.
9,900 and
10,000.
and 10,000. 100 more than 9,900 is 10,000. So you have to be careful. And which is it closer to?
10,000.
Yes, because the 50 says bring it up to the next one, and we have 10,000. "43. Counting by hundreds, what two numbers is that in between?"
0 and 100.
Yes. Between 0 and 100. And which is it closer to?
0.
Yes, it is. So strange as it may seem, 43 rounded off to the nearest hundred is?
0.
The answer is 0. Now we're going to learn how to round off decimal numbers. For instance, the number 1.2. Please read me that number.
1 and 2/10.
Yes, that number is 1 and a little something, a little part of the next number. It comes between 1 and 2. Now we're going to round off these numbers to the nearest whole number. We have to decide whether this is closer to 1 or 2. This place here is called the ones place or the units place. And when we round off decimals, we no longer have to ask ourselves what two numbers it falls in between. We have a trick to make it much easier. Just put a line underneath the number that is in the place that the instructions say to round to. The whole number place is the ones place. Then draw a little arrow to the number just to the right of it so we can really look at that number. If that number is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, when we round off, it will tell us something goes up. But if it's 4 or 3 or 2 or 1, 4 or below, we will stay the same. Is this number 5 or above?
No.
So the 2 tells us that the 1 stays the same. The two things you could say to me are goes up or stays the same. And this time it stays the same. And we say that 1 and 2/10 rounded off to the nearest whole number is 1. Let's do another one. 4.9. Read me that number.
4 and 9/10.
Which of these numbers is in the ones place?
4.
So we underline it and point to the 9. The 9 tells us that what happens to the 4?
It goes up.
It goes up and becomes
5.
so that so we're saying that 4 and 9/10 is just about 5, approximately 5. $76.5. Read that number to me.
76 and 5/10.
What number is in the ones place?
6.
The 6 is in the 1. Arrow to the 5. The 5 tells us that what happens to the 6?
It goes up.
It goes up. So we round it off to what?
70.
77. 76 and 5/10 rounded off to the nearest whole number, 7. $9.7. Please read me that number.
And 7/10.
What number is in the ones place? We underline it. We point to the number just to the right of it. The 7 tells us that the 9 becomes
10.
The nearest whole number, it's 10. Eight, 9.5. Please read that number.
8,999 and 5/10.
What number is in the ones place?
9.
This one?
No.
This one?
No.
This one?
Yes.
That's in the ones place. We point to the 5. The 5 tells you that what happens to the 9?
It goes up.
To what?
10.
To a 10. Well, how do I write a 10 in there? Let's put the 0 here and the 1 here. We have to carry the 1 to the next place. Put down the 0, carry the 1. 8 plus 1.
9.
So 8,999 and 5/10 is going to be rounded off to the nearest whole number, and we can just read the answer off the top. And what does it say?
9,000.
9. Seen when you're riding along in a car that there's a gauge that tells you how many miles or kilometers you've gone. It's called an odometer. And sometimes it's very exciting when everything is all lined up in 9s and you see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and after it goes by the 9, all these other 9s kick up to zeros. That's just the way this works. We'll do one more of them to the nearest whole number. 7.499. Please read me that number.
7,499,000.
What number is in the ones place?
7.
The 7. And what number is in the 10ths place that's right next to it?
4.
So we point our arrow to the 4. The 4 tells us that what happens to the 7?
It stays the same.
And so the answer is
7.
But Uncle Dan, how about all these big 9s over there? Doesn't that make it go up? Well, no it doesn't, because we only look at the number to the right of the place that we are told to round off to. We only look at the 4. We don't look at the 9s. Even if we did look at the 9s, we can see that 499 is less than 500, which is less than halfway there. But we don't need to. We just forget about those numbers and we don't use them at all. Now we're going to round off decimals to the nearest tenth. 4.37. What number is in the tenths place?
3.
And we point to the 7. The 7 tells us that the 3 goes up or stays the same?
Goes up.
Goes up and becomes
4.
4 and 4/10. 4.4. Notice that when we round off to the nearest tenth, we don't write anything in the spaces after that. We're not interested in knowing about hundredths or thousandths or anything beyond that. We want our number to stop at the tenths place. We never write any numbers beyond the end of this line that we drew, the place that we're rounding off to, and we're cutting off everything beyond that. Let's do another one. 18.92. Please read me that number.
18 and 92 hundredths.
What number is in the tenths place?
9.
And we point to the 2. The 2 tells us that the 9,
Stays the same.
and we write 18.9. Please read the answer.
18 and 9/10.
And we've rounded it off to the nearest
Tenths.
10th. 329 and 7/100ths. What number is in the tenths place?
0.
And we point to the 7. The 7 tells us that the 0 does what?
Goes up.
Goes up and becomes what?
329 and 1/10.
And 1/10. The 0 becomes a 1. $499.43. What number is in the tenths place?
4.
This 4 here?
No.
This 4 here. We point to the 3. The 3 tells us that the 4,
Stays the same.
and we write 499.4. Please read me that number.
499 and 4/10.
Yes. 699.97. Read me that number.
699 and 97 hundredths.
And what number is in the tenths place?
9.
This one?
Yes.
And the 7 tells us the 9 does what?
Goes up.
And it becomes?
0.
Yes. Well, we say it goes from 9 up to,
10.
and we have to carry the 1. Now we have 9 plus 1 is,
10.
and we have to carry the 1. And 9 plus 1 is,
10.
and we have to carry the 1. And
7.
now we have to read the answer. We read it right across the top. Don't forget to include the decimal point, and I'll let you spell it instead of reading it. Just tell me what numbers to write.
70.0.
Yes, we're told to round it off to the nearest tenth, so we have to have a number there in the tenths place. I admit to you that this number is the same as this number, but when we're rounding it off, we have to follow the instructions precisely and fill the tenths place. Rounding off to the nearest tenth. Which number is in the tenths place?
3.
We underline the 3 to remind us which place we're rounding to. We point to the 4. What does the 4 tell us about the 3?
It stays the same.
So we write 426.3. Do we care about the 9?
No.
No, we don't. Please read the answer.
426 and 3/10.
And now we've rounded off those numbers to the nearest tenth. Now we're going to round off decimals to the nearest hundredth. 5.853. Which number is in the hundredth place?
5.
We point to the 3. The 3 tells us that the 5 does what?
Stays the same.
And we write 5.85. Please read the answer.
5.85 hundredths.
Yes. 5.85 rounded off. It was to the hundredths place. 58.397. Which number is in the hundredths place?
9.
We underline the 9. We point to the 7. The 7 tells us that
The 9 goes up.
to
10.
and we carry the 1, and therefore 3 plus 1 is?
4.
Now, tell me what to write number by number, reading across the top.
5.8.40.
Yes, and read me that answer.
58 and 40 hundredths.
That's right. 699.996. Which number is in the hundredths place?
9.
This 9 here,
No.
this 9 here.
Yes.
Yes, can't fool you. We point 9 goes up to,
10.
we carry the 1, 9 plus 1,
10.
carry the 1, 9 plus 1,
10.
carry the 1, 9 plus 1,
10.
carry the 1, 6 plus 1.
7.
Tell me what to write number by number as you read across the top.
7. 0. 0. Point. 0. 0.
Yes, notice that since we were told to round off to the hundredths place, we had to put these 2 zeros in the answer. We had to fill the tenths and the hundredths places. And we'll do one more. 38.045. Which number is in the hundredths place?
4.
Underline the 4, point to the 5. The 5 tells us that the 4
Goes up.
and becomes a
5.
38.05. Please read me that answer.
38 and 500.
Yes, that's it, and that's how you round off to the nearest hundredth. And here's the last set of numbers we're going to round off, this time to the nearest
Thousand.
thousandth. 4.3894. Which number is in the thousandth place?
9.
9. We underline the 9 and we point to the 4. The 4 tells us that what happens to the 9?
It stays the same.
And we write 4.389. Please read that answer.
4 and 389,000.
Yes. Here's another one. 78.0555. Which number is in the thousandths place?
5.
This one?
No.
This one?
Yes.
Yes. We underline it and point to the number just to the right of it. The 5 tells us that this 5 does what?
Goes up.
And becomes a
6.
78.056. Please read me that number.
78 and 56,000.
Thousandths, because we've rounded it off to the thousandths place. 379.9995. I think everybody already knows what's going to happen to this one. Which number is in the thousandths place?
9.
And we all know it's this one. The 5 tells us that the 9
Goes up.
to 10, we carry the 1. 9 plus 1,
10.
carry the 1. 9 plus 1,
10.
carry the 1. 9 plus 1,
10.
carry the 1. 7 plus 1,
8.
8. No more numbers to carry. Let's read the answer across the top. Tell me what to write.
3, 8, 0, point, 0, 0, 0.
That's exactly right. And the number is 380, or if you like, 380 and 0 thousandths, because it is rounded off to the thousandths place. And here's the last one. Now you're all experts at rounding off. Which number is in the thousandths place?
9.
This 9 right here. The 7 tells us that the 9 becomes,
10.
and we move it like this. We put the 0 here and the 1 there to carry it. And 8 plus 1 is?
9.
Yes. Read me the answer across the top.
8, 4, 9.990.
Yes, we have a lot of 9s there, but this was just an 8, so that's where things stopped becoming 10s with numbers to carry. We just had to do it one time. Read this number.
849
That's all you need to know how to round off a number. Sometimes you'll have a decimals problem when you're asked to round off the answer. Here we're told to add these three numbers and round off the answer to the nearest hundredth. Well, we just write them down. 4.37. And remember that when we add decimals, we need to line the decimal points straight up and down. 0.239 and 64.3. Each number in its proper place. Now we're going to add. In this column, all we have is 9. 7 plus 3,
10.
Put down the 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 3,
4.
plus 2,
6.
plus 3,
9.
9. Nothing to carry. 4 plus 4,
8.
and just the 6. It says to round it off to the nearest hundredth. Which number is in the hundredths place?
0.
The 0. The 9 tells us that the 0 does what?
Goes up.
And then it becomes what?
1.
1. So I'm going to write 68.91. Please read me the answer.
68 and 91 hundredths.
So we did the work in the normal way, and we just rounded off the answer. This time we're going to subtract, and we're going to round off our answer to the nearest
1,000.
53.742.8586. Notice that we have lined up our numbers so that the decimal points are one below the other. Before I begin to subtract, what do I have to put in these two places?
0.
Zeros. Here we go. 0 take away 6.
Can't do.
I borrow from the 4. The 4 becomes,
3.
so the 0 can become,
10.
and the 10 becomes,
9.
so this 0 can become.
10.
10 take away 6.
4.
9 take away 8.
1.
3 take away 5.
Can't do.
The 7 becomes,
6.
so that the 3 becomes.
13.
13 take away 5.
8.
6 take away 8.
Can't do.
The 3 becomes 8,
2.
so that the 6 can become.
16.
16 take away 8.
8.
Decimal point right below. 2 take away 2.
0.
5 take away nothing is 5. We have to round it to the nearest thousandth. Which number is in the thousandths place?
1.
We underline the 1 and we point to the number just to the right of it. The 4 tells us that the 1,
Stays the same.
so I write 50.881. Please read me the answer.
50 and 881 thousandths.
Now we're going to multiply and then round off the answer to the nearest thousandth. 0.037 times 0.8. Now remember, when I multiply, the only numbers I'm going to look at are the 3, the 7, and the 8. When I'm all finished, then I'll have to consider the decimal points and the number of places. 7 times 8,
56.
put down the 6, carry the 5. 3 times 8,
24.
24. Plus 5,
29.
29. How many places are there in the original problem that are filled to the right of decimal points?
4.
1, 2, 3, 4, and I go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I put my decimal point there. And what do I put in this empty place?
0.
Now I have to round it off to the nearest thousandth. Which number in the answer is in the thousandths place?
9.
9. And so we point to the 6. The 6 tells us that the 9
Goes up.
and becomes a,
10.
put down the 0, carry the 1. 2 plus 1 is,
3.
now be very careful and tell me what to write number by number for my answer.
Point. 0. 3. 0.
That's it. 0.030, rounded off to the thousandths place, and that is the thousandths place. And here's another multiplication problem, and we need to round off the answer again to the nearest
1,000.
thousandth. 0.0058 times 3.4. And I remind you again that when you do multiplication of decimals, you do not line up the decimal points one below the other. You just write the numbers as they would normally line up themselves, and you only look at the 5, the 8, the 3, and the 4 when you do the multiplication in this problem. 8 times 4,
32.
put down the 2, carry the 3. 5 times 4,
20.
plus 3,
23.
23. The 0 in the second row to remind ourselves how to line up our numbers. 8 times 3,
24.
put down the 4, carry the 2. 5 times 3,
15.
plus 2.
17.
Remember, no decimal points in these two rows. 2 plus 0,
2.
3 plus 4,
7.
2 plus 7,
9.
and the 1. How many places are there filled to the right of the decimal points?
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do we put in the empty place?
0.
We are rounding off to the thousandths place. Which number in the answer is in the thousandths place?
9.
The 9. We underline the 9 and point to the 7. The 7 tells you that the 9
Goes up.
and becomes,
10.
we have a 0 here and carry the 1. And the 1 plus the 1 is the
2.
2. Now, very carefully, Tell me what to write number by number as you read across.
Point. 0, 2, 0.
0.020. Please read me that answer.
20,000.
This time we're going to divide, and we're going to round off our answer to the nearest.
100.
0.536 divided by 0.07 means 0.07 divided into 0.536. What do I have to do with this decimal point?
Move it 2 places to the right.
Yes, so that it's all the way at the end. And if this one goes 2 places to the right, what do I do to this one?
The same thing.
Same thing. 2 places to the right, and then I put my decimal point in the answer. Now we're told in this problem that we have to round off the answer to the nearest hundredth. Well, the 100th place in the answer is this second place, and we have to have some number to the right of that we can point to and look at to find out how to round off. So we have to add a 0 in the hundredths place and a 0 in the thousandths place. And we have to remember that we have to have an answer over here. So I like to put a little box there. That tells me how far out I have to carry the division and no further. I like to always do all of this part of the work first before we begin to divide. Now, this 0 is no longer of importance. 7 into 53.
7.
Because 7 times 7 is
49.
49. 3 take away 9.
Can't do.
The 5 becomes a,
4.
so the 3 becomes a.
13.
13 take away 9 is,
4.
and of course 4 take away 4 is
0.
an invisible 0. Bring down the 6. 7 into 46.
6.
6, because 6 times 7 is,
42.
subtract 6 take away 2,
4.
and bring down the 0. 7 into 40.
5.
5, because 5 times 7 is
35.
5. And 40 take away 35 is
5.
5. Bring down the 0. 7 into 50.
7.
7, because 7 times 7 is 49. And we can subtract and know that 50 take away 49 is 1. We're not going to bring down another 0, but it's good to do this subtraction just to make sure that the remainder is always less than the number we're dividing by, and that has to be true every time we subtract during the division. Here, the 5 is less than 7. The 4 that we got when we subtracted is less than the 7, and so is this one. We see we do have something in this box, and we're now ready to round off our answer. The 5 is in the hundredths place. The 7 tells us that what happens to the 5?
It goes up.
And becomes a,
6.
so our answer is 7.66. Please read me the answer.
7 and 66 hundredths.
Yes, 66 hundredths rounded off to the hundredths place. And here's another decimals division problem. And we have to round off the answer to the nearest tenth. 14 into 733. Is there a decimal point in the number we're dividing by?
No.
So we don't have to move it. Is there a decimal point in this number?
No.
Not yet, but we're going to have to put one at the end because we have to put our decimal point in our answer. We're going to round off to the nearest tenth. We'll add a 0 here and another one here because we have to carry out our division one place more than the place we've been asked to round off to. We've been asked to round off to the 10th, so we have to have something in the hundredths place in our answer. 14 into 73. How many times do you think? Take a guess, somebody.
5.
5. Let's try 5. 14 times 5. 4 times 5.
20.
Put down the 0, carry the 2. 1 times 5
5.
plus 2,
7.
and the answer here is 70. Is that good for 73?
Yes.
Yes, it is. It's just a little bit less. When we subtract, we get 3, which is a good remainder because it's less than 14. Let's bring down the 3. How many 14s can we fit in 33?
2.
2. Let's try 2. 14 times 2. 4 times 2.
8.
1 times 2.
2.
28. 3 take away 8.
Can't do.
The 3 becomes,
2.
and the 3 here becomes
13.
13 take away 8.
5.
2 take away 2.
0.
0. Invisible 0. We don't need to write it, but we need to bring down this 0. How many 14s can we fit in 50?
3.
Let's try 3. 14 times 3. 4 times 3.
12.
Put down the 2, carry the 1. 1 times 3
3.
plus 1,
4.
42. Can you tell me without borrowing how much 50 take away 42 is?
8.
8. So when you can do that in your head without crossing out, you're welcome to do it that way. Let's bring down the next 0. 14 into 80. How many times?
5.
Yes, because we already know that 14 times 5 is 70. And that will give us a remainder that is not too large. 5 there, 70 here. 80 take away 70 is 10, which is less than 14. Now we are ready to round off our answer. What number in the answer is in the tenths place?
3.
The 3. We underline it and we point our arrow towards the 5, and of course we already have the box there. The 5 tells us that the 3 does what?
Goes up.
And becomes,
4.
so I shall write 52.4. as my answer, and please read the answer to me.
52 and 4/10.
Yes, and 4/10 as we have rounded it off to the nearest tenth. This fraction and turn it into a decimal, and it has to be rounded off to the nearest thousandth. Is the bottom number 10, 100, or 1,000?
No.
Can we make it 10 or 100?
No.
Can we reduce it?
No.
So we have to divide bottom into the top. The first thing we do is put our decimal point in the answer. Now, we are not told to divide it until it comes out evenly, and we're not told to divide until it becomes a repeating decimal. Our instructions are to round it off to the nearest thousandth. That means we have to carry out the division one place beyond the thousandths place. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and one place beyond is the 10,000ths. We have to carry it that far. 11 will not fit into 5. How many 11s in 50?
4.
4 times 11 is
44.
0, take away 4.
6. Can't do.
Well, if we say 0, take away 4, then we must say can't do and make the 0 into a
10.
and 10 take away 4 is 6. If you're able to subtract 50 take away 44 without doing that extra step, then you don't have to do it. You can just say 50 take away 44 is 6. We have to bring down the 0. 11 into 60.
5.
And 5 times 11,
55.
55. All right, what is 60? Take away 55.
5.
5. And we bring down the 0, and we're about to do 11 into 50. But you say, Uncle Dan, wait. We did 11 into 50 up here, and now we're going to do it again. I think it's starting to repeat. Well, yes it is. We're going to have a 4 here, and if we were to do the work, we discover that we're going to have a 5 here. We are not to express the answer as a repeating decimal with a bar over it. We are told to round it off. Which number is in the thousandths place?
4.
This 4 right here. And we point to the 5. The 5 tells us that the 4
Goes up.
and becomes 5. So our answer is 0.455. Please read the answer.
455 thousandths.
Here's another fraction that we're going to convert to a decimal, rounded off to the nearest thousandth. Is the bottom number already 10, 100, or 1,000?
No.
Can we make it 10 or 100?
No.
Can we reduce it?
No.
So we have to divide 17 into 7, bottom into top. We put our decimal point in the answer. We have to round it off to the nearest thousandth, so we have to carry out the division one more place than that. 0 tenths, hundredths, thousandths, one more place, the 10,000th place. You should do all this work before you begin to divide. Get your decimal point in your answer, as many zeros as you need, and this little box which tells you when to stop dividing. Does 17 fit into 7?
No.
How many 17s in 70?
3.
Let's try 3. 17 times 3. 7 times 3.
21.
Put down the 1, carry the 2. 1 times 3
3.
plus 2,
5.
51. Now 51 is smaller than 70. That's good. But what happens when we subtract 51 from 70? The 7 would become a 6 to make this a 10, and our answer would be 19. Is 19 a good remainder when we're dividing by 17?
No.
That means the 3 was too small. Let's try 4. 17 times 4. 7 times 4 is?
28.
Put down the 8, carry the 2. 1 times 4 is?
4.
Plus 2.
6.
Now that's better. That's a lot closer to our 70. 68. 70 take away 68 is?
2.
Bring down the 0. How many 17s in 20?
1.
1 times 17 is? 17. 20 take away 17 is?
3.
3. Bring down the 0. 17 into 30. How many times?
2.
2.
Well, let's try 17 times 2. 7 times 2 is?
14.
Put down the 4, carry the 1. 1 times 2 is?
2.
Plus 1,
3.
34. Is 34 a good number for 30? A
No.
little bit too big, so 17 goes into 30 only one time. 1 times 17 is?
17.
And let's do it this way. 0 take away 7.
Can do.
The 3 becomes 2, so that the 0 becomes
10.
10 take away 7.
3.
2 take away 1.
1.
13 is our remainder. Is that a good remainder?
Yes.
Yes, it is, because it's less than. Go ahead and bring down another 0. This time we're doing 17 into 130. How many 17s do you think there might be in there?
8.
Let's try 8. 17 times 8. 7 times 8 is?
56.
Put down the 6, carry the 5. 1 times 8
8.
plus 5,
13.
13. 136. Is that good for 130?
No.
We'd better try 17 times 7. 7 times 7.
21.
49.
49. 7 times 7 is 49. Put down the 9, carry the 4. 1 times 7 is?
7.
Plus 4,
11.
11. 119. 119. And the number up here was 7. That gave us the
2.
2.
so that the 0 becomes
10.
10 take away 9,
1.
2 take away 1.
11.
The answer for the remainder is 11, and 11 is less than. The 1, of course, is in the thousands place, and we point to the number in the box. The 7 tells us that the 1
Goes up.
and becomes a,
2.
and our answer is 0.412. Please read the answer.
412,000.
Yes, and we have rounded it off to the thousandths place. Now, you can remember that we learned a special trick for multiplying or dividing decimals by 10, 100, or 1,000. Here we have a multiplication problem by 100, and we do it just by moving the decimal points. When we multiply, which way do we move the decimal point? To the
Right.
And how many places when we multiply by 100?
2.
So we'll move this decimal point 2 places to the right and put a little arrow on it to remind ourselves that it started here and ended up there. Tell me what to write for the answer. 432.7. Yes, but now the instructions say that we're to take that answer and round it off to the nearest whole number. Which of those numbers is in the whole number place?
The 2.
The 2, because the whole number place is the same thing as the ones place. So we put a line under the 2 and we point to the 7. The 7 tells us that the 2
Goes up.
and becomes a,
3.
and the answer then rounded off is 433, and that's to the nearest whole number, and we do not need to put the decimal point at the end. This time we're going to divide by 100. When we divide, we move the decimal point to the left. And when it's by 100, how many places do we move it?
2.
It starts here and it goes 1, 2 places to the left. What do I put in the empty place?
0.
0. The answer then I would write is 0.0643. But it needs to be rounded off to the nearest hundredth. Which number in that answer is in the hundredth place?
6.
The 6. We underline the 6 and point to the 4, which is in the place just to the right of it. The 4 tells us that the 6,
Stays the same.
so I shall write 0.06. Please read the answer.
600.
That's right. And that's the last of our decimals problems for this video. And I have only one more question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Did you get the point?
Yes.
Very good.
Golden Age Productions, Golden Age Productions, standing in the gap of your education.